I've been sat on it for about a decade. I'd never told a soul. I didn't want anyone to know about it, even my best mates, my family, my partners, whoever. Nobody's ever known. You know, you're in this private realm, and it's the one place where really anything goes. You can say what you want without any form of being conscious of a backlash. Those marks that people leave behind are typically someone's most impulsive expression. Waking up in the morning and not painting has never made sense to me. Art really has been the only thing that ever really made sense. I used to focus on painting photorealistic portraits. It started to feel more like maths than art. It was like, where does the nose go in relation to the mouth? Where does the eye go? I think I learned early on that art is about way more than that.
I don't really use any colour in the way I'm supposed to. Like, when I spray, I like to scratch, because you can never make that mark again.
My mind's quite an interesting place, and I'm well aware that some of my ideas can be pretty off the wall. You know, when you go into toilets, you sit down in the toilet, you look at the back of the toilet door and you see all the social commentary, what people have written. I've always wanted to make a conceptual exhibition based on the back of toilet doors. It's almost like the original form of social media. You know, the back of toilet doors. So one day I just went, look, I'm going to make this thing happen. I walked around 250 pubs in the space of about 5 days. It would be frustrating as hell for long periods of time. You know, I go to 20 toilets, oh, maybe this project hasn't got anything. Kind of thought to myself, where on earth has my career ended up? What am I doing with my time? And then you find one that's amazing. It's kind of the final frontier of free speech. Even with social media, it's not that easy to just say what's on your mind anymore. And you know, something you said 10 years ago can be brought back up, and you can be in trouble for it. And suddenly you have to apologise, and you have to go through everything, delete everything. You know, it's the only real place where you're behind a mask.
I'm just playing with the things that I found.
With anything I do, I try not to put any unnecessary cosmetic layering over it. I want them to be as imperfect as the back of the doors are. You know, there's no doubt about it, they're defaced. They're rich in texture, imperfections, and you know, they've stood up for decades generally. They've been tampered with constantly. So many doors I went to, and you can see that they've painted over some of the text. So yeah, I'll go over words again and again and replace them with other words, but all from things that I found, you know, found social commentary. Fat Pat was here on his B-day. I think I found that written on a toilet door in Shoreditch somewhere. So I was just playing with where this thing could go. That was just kind of a bit of research, if I'm honest. The doors are going to be the party piece. I'm going to remake a door per city throughout the UK. So I'm going to go to all the major UK cities and make a door for each location. I've taken photos of every single door that I've found. Although some of the content is nonsense and it's just the most impulsive things that come into their mind, some of it's really considered, and it's kind of that dynamic between the two. But inevitably it's always made in the vein of knowing that you're anonymous. You're able to wholeheartedly be yourself in that moment. Some people are lovely, some people are horrible. Some of it's dark, some of it's colourful. But it isn't what they would say when their name is on the wall, or their photo is their profile image. Some of them are controversial as hell. Some of them are sexist, some of them are racist. This isn't a place to condone any of that, but it's a place to show how our society is shaping up right now in an unfiltered way. I think to challenge the boundaries of everything that art is, I think that's actually a vital part of the artist's job. I'm letting myself be led by the walk. I tried a number of processes and I thought, how about I just make one myself with my own interpretation? I was saying to myself I was sacrificing a door just for research. They come out cool, they come out fun, and they have something. But that's my writing. And sometimes you have to surrender your own will in order to get the right outcome for whatever you're working on. I just made the decision that it really has to be their handwriting, and then it's like, right, the next job is figuring out how I can take their handwriting and use it to recreate one all-encompassing door. I immediately felt that screen printing was the one. I turned every bit of handwriting into vectors, and then essentially you can expose a screen, which then would push through. When you're planning some form of body of work, you need to be considering the process and what's right for that particular work. I've just got to do everything I can to make sure that the screen print will print evenly. This stuff's a bloody nightmare. It dries in 10 minutes, so I have to work like one of them. Bloody nightmare, sweating my nuts off. Well, this is definitely different from my normal work, although my mind doesn't really tend to be planned and methodical. It's the only route for this. When I run my hand along it, I think it's probably the best that I could have done. It's all consuming and you can't switch off, but you wouldn't have it any other way. I keep a notebook by the side of my bed just because I know when I'm trying to get to sleep, which can take me hours because I can't switch off, I come up with my best ideas. Doing some test prints to make sure we know which process to use. So we're toying with the idea of vinyl, cut out by some funky machine that Willy Boy here has made happen, and then some screens, see which is the best effect.
Let's stick it about there.
Yeah, just nice anywhere, mate. There. It's important to go through all the motions and find the wrong techniques. So what I'm looking for is if it pulls out any paint. None yet.
And this was acrylic, was it?
Yep, just acrylic paint. It's pretty fucking good.
Look at it from this angle. That actually looks like red biro from here.
It looks like that person's just walked in and wrote it on the board.
Yeah.
Screen prints always scared me a little bit. Put the screens away. We don't need to even piss about with them. We don't need to test them at all. It really meant we had full control over the creative output without losing the essence of the original text. And then I could just think quite freely in terms of aesthetic and how I want it to look. So that's up about here.
Shall I just trim that down a bit?
I've really considered every little bit. I've considered where they're all placed. And there's a real strong narrative about our capital city. And I like that a black door sort of nods to, 10 Downing Street and the state of the country right now. If my work didn't sell, I could end up at risk of being homeless and I would still be painting. It's something you really don't have a choice to do. I don't have a choice to go and have a normal job. And I would sacrifice income so that I just keep doing this. And I'm lucky to know a number of pretty well-established artists, and it's kind of the same story for most. I was dreaming literally these moments. It almost feels like I'm reliving it. Never really had a dream that's quite that lucid. It's looking pretty great. There's a couple of bits. Do you think that's because it's wet, or do you think, because we can take that off with a scalpel, I'm sure. I bet if we give it a little rub, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it might still be a little bit soft.
And the same's happened sort of there, but that might be...
I think it's...
That's cool though, that's fine. It looks like someone's left it and that's the mark. I think this inherently just makes you question what is art. And I think the best pieces of art always make you ask that question. I think it should make a number of people go, oh no, I'm not sure about that. And if it makes you feel something, I've done my job. I don't even mind if people hate it. Every single one of these 63 pieces of writing on here was originally done with absolute raw creativity. It just makes me think, who was this person? Who left that? This is the one thing they decided to leave. All of these people, they're sitting in a toilet. They're not intending on making a work of art. They're not trying to contrive something. But what they are doing is making a work of art. It just fascinates me.